Bookworms, long time no see. I do apologize that it's been forever since the last time I uploaded a video. I'm sorry, my life has got kind of hectic, busy lately. I didn't have the time to read a book, let alone upload a video about it. But hopefully from now on it will be a lot more calmer, organized, and I'll be able to upload more videos. So anyway, I recently finished the second book on my 2016 reading list, and I will share my thoughts about it with you right now. Fatherland by Robert Harris is an alternate history novel, and quite frankly, I've been wanting to read it for a long time. It sets in Berlin, Germany in 1964, but it's not the 1964 that we know from history. I'm not sure if you can see it. It says here, what if Hitler had won? So in this alternate history, Germany won the Second World War. So the 60s sort of setting that we have in this book is still Nazi Germany. There are swastikas everywhere, there aren't any Jews, and everyone is excited to celebrate Adolf Hitler's 75th birthday. As for the story itself, the protagonist is a policeman called Xavier March, and I swear to God, I did not know that before I read the book, but apparently it's a detective thriller. My favorite genre, who would have thought? Seriously, I did not pick this book because I wanted to read another thriller. I actually thought to myself, you're doing too many detective books reviews, you should go to another genre. So I picked Fatherland, but apparently it's still detective, so sorry, I guess. Anyway, one day on April 1964, in this version of Berlin, Germany, a dead body is found in a lake. And March, who, as I said, is a policeman, is in charge of the investigation to find out, what happened, who's this man, why is he dead, etc. And since it's an alternate history in such a unique setting, you can imagine that the solution will not be something simple like a personal feud between two people that led to a murder, but something a lot more complex. And indeed, pretty soon March realized that there is some sort of a conspiracy that has to do with politics and might even has something to do with some very high ranks. Let's address first the question that I know most of you are asking. How do we deal with a Nazi protagonist? How can we read a book and relate to a book when you know that there are a lot of main characters, some good characters, really nice people, but we know that they're on the side of evil? How do we deal with such a book? Well, I know it's gonna sound a little strange and maybe ironic, I'm not sure, but most of the book, you don't really remember that they are Nazis. I know it sounds strange. You know in which kind of situation you're in. You know that it's still Nazi Germany. They keep talking about, Hitler's birthday that they're going to celebrate, but it's not like people are walking around yelling on how much they hate Jews all the time. It's a little different. Actually, frankly, this book is not exactly what I thought it would be. It's not a bad thing. It's definitely not a disappointment. I enjoyed this book very much, but I don't know, maybe part of me thought that all the characters, especially since the protagonist is part of the police and all of his colleagues and people around him are also part of the police and the government, I was expecting everyone to be like the German soldiers you see in World War II movies, like Schindler's List, and they weren't. And as for March himself as the protagonist, Robert Harris, the author, did here something that it's not the first time that I'm seeing, and it kind of makes sense because he's part of the Nazi government, but you need to like him because he's the protagonist. So he's like a nice Nazi, kind of like in The Kindly Ones. He's a nice guy, he's a good guy, he doesn't hate anybody, he doesn't really hate Jews, he doesn't even, there's a part, it's not a spoiler, but he suspects that someone is lying because he's actually a homosexual, obviously something bad in that sort of government, and he suspects that, he lies about his whereabouts in order to hide the fact that he's homosexual, whatever, and from the way he talks to him, you realize that he doesn't care if he's really gay. He doesn't hate homosexuals. He just wants to get to the truth. So he's a nice guy, and obviously he's not a very big enthusiast of the party, the political party. He's not completely agreeing with the government, which kind of makes him an underdog, because in this society, you either really love the government or you go to jail. Especially if you're a police officer. It's kind of weird to see a police officer that is not a huge enthusiast of the government. I'll continue to say that if you are one of those people who finds it difficult to deal with books or, movies or anything that has to do with World War II, Holocaust, Nazis, etc., this is not a difficult book to read. This is not about, a bunch of people looking to murder everyone who is different. Obviously, that's in the background because we know our history. But it's not a difficult book to read. You need to decide for yourselves whether it is something you can read or not. But I will tell you that most of the book is really not difficult to read. There is a part, however, toward the end of the book where they talk about some of the horrors of the concentration camps. And it's being told from Nazi eyes, so it's even more infuriating because they talk about it if it's not a big deal, and that was a little kind of got to me, and usually I'm pretty resilient to these things, but overall it's not a very difficult book. It's mostly has an atmosphere of a detective thriller, a very film noir, old school kind of a thriller. And since I mentioned film noir, let's talk about that for a moment. It is the 60s and the atmosphere is very dark and very film noir-ish. It has a lot of film noir styles, cliches, but personally I think they really work in here, even though they're very, there are cliches, especially when it comes to certain characters and they're part of the plot, and March's character is very film noir detective. He's divorced, he's bitter, he drinks, he smokes and everything. And personally, even though part of it was really, like I said, cliche, and I knew, okay, this character will do this and he will turn out to be that and everything, I really enjoyed that aspect of the book, this kind of dark noir, dark atmosphere kind of a detective. I think it really worked in this book. What wasn't so much of a cliche, however, was the knowledge that this book might not have a happy ending. Sometimes you read a book and it's a thriller and you know that maybe sad things will happen, maybe some characters will die, but eventually the ending will be good. The killer will be caught and the mystery will be solved, etc. But in here, you have no certainty. The protagonist might die, for example, up until the very last moment. You have no idea. Maybe the whole plan will fail and the truth will never be known. And I personally really liked it. I found it a lot more thrilling. Toward the end, I was like, oh my god, and fast forwarding the pages, and why was I reading from right to left? I don't know if you noticed, I did this. I was reading in Hebrew for a moment. But anyway, it was very thrilling and I really found it a lot more, authentic. So overall, I think this book is absolutely fascinating. I really recommend it, even though it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. Though to be fair, I didn't know myself exactly what I was expecting before I started reading this book. Does that make sense? I don't know. It just surprised me that it was a detective book, but it was fascinating, and that's how an alternate history book should look like. I really like the combination between the real history, which some of it I recognized. I mean, most of us have some background knowledge about World War II and the Holocaust and Nazi Germany and everything, but I actually managed to recognize a lot of the names that he used, and some of the characters were really real. And I like the combination between the real history and alternate history. So go ahead and read this book. It's really fascinating. Once again, it's not difficult, it's not Holocaust-y concentration camp kind of a book, and unless you have really strong resentment toward anything related to the Holocaust, it's definitely a recommendable book. You know, this book keeps reminding me of the Yiddish Policemen's Union by Michael Chabon, even though it's funny, on one hand they are total opposites, but on the other hand they are very much similar. So I don't know, what do you guys think? So anyway, that was my review. Like this video, comment down below on whatever it is that's on your mind. Subscribe to my channel if you dare, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.